Have you ever told yourself, just a little more polish before sending that report, a little more scope added to the project, a little more revenue before you finally feel secure, and before you know it, a little more becomes a lot more chasing? Does that ring a bell? Today's story is about this subject. Hi, welcome back to Stories at Work, a series where I share real stories from across the world that you can use when you want to drive home a business point. Our website, storyworks.in, already has over 100 stories, and we are adding one every week. Let's start today's story. Many years ago, two very celebrated writers, Kurt Vonnegut, author of Slaughterhouse-Five, and his friend Joseph Heller, who wrote the famous book Catch-22, were invited to a lavish party on Shelter Island, off the tip of Long Island in New York. The host was a billionaire, the kind of home where almost every wall seems to display a Picasso or a Monet, and every corner whispered wealth. As they looked around, Vonnegut turned to Heller and said, Joe, how does it make you feel to know that our host probably made more money yesterday than your novel, Catch 22, has made in its entire history? Heller smiled, took a sip of his drink, and said, I've got something he can never have. Vonnegut raised an eyebrow and said, What's that? The knowledge that I've got enough, said Heller. What a story. Enough. Enough is such an underused word. Enough, what an eloquent word. Enough, what a potent word. Now, where in business can you use this story? I can think of a few situations. One is when you're advising people that we all need to define our enough. Because if we don't, then the world will define more for us. Targets that never end, metrics that never satisfy. The second use case could be when we are cautioning people to be very aware of what is called perfection creep. Sometimes better destroys done. Knowing where to stop is a strategic knowledge, is as important as knowing where to start. In business and in life, it's not always the richest or the busiest who wins. It is often the ones who, like Joseph Heller, know when to say, I've got enough. Of course, there's one more use the story has that I often use it for. There's a myth a lot of people carry that good stories take time to tell. I think I probably took all of 55 seconds to tell that story. Something to think about before thinking that I can't use stories in my business because people don't have time for a story. Well, I hope you enjoyed that story, and if you did, there are many more on our website, storyworks.in. See you next week. Bye for now.